live from the glorious city of Melbourne
and live from the USA.
Your superstar hosts, Michael Serpell.
I'm going to say we play and win a final.
Sam Menhennet.
The top four.
Like it.
Carlton.
There it is. There it is. That's waiting for it.
This is In the Ballpark.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Ballpark. Thank you for joining us if you're listening for the first time. Remember, you can also watch our video version of the podcast on YouTube, which we'll be posting full-length clips and some Instagram clips that you may have seen around. So we're on all the social medias at the moment. I'm joined by a happy Michael Serpell, who's currently donning the sash. We will get into Thursday night's football and a further round 3 preview. How are you?
Mate, very happy. The Dons have managed to chalk a win in 2025. Not practice match related either, Sammy, which is even better. It's a legitimate win. I think a lot of people will agree, and we will get into the match review later, but it was a pretty scrappy affair. I think with the roof being on at Marvel Stadium and it being over 30 degrees, sauna type conditions, we don't want to be seeing the Darwin type weather every single week. So I think it wasn't the best viewing. Might be a bit of a forgettable game in time, but definitely a great win. And what a moment for the new Muslim player, Saad Al-Wadi for the Dons. He came on as the sub in the 4th term and absolutely lit it up and got the boys over the line. So no, Sammy, I'm definitely feeling good, and a lot of confused cars this morning when I went for a jog wearing it.
Yes, for context, Michael currently lives in San Diego. So what is their local NFL team? Do they have an NFL team?
No, it used to be the Chargers, and then they moved to Los Angeles. But the Padres are really big here, Sammy. So maybe a few people thinking, I wonder if the Padres are doing an alternative jersey.
Yeah, okay. All right, so yes, round 3 continue, preview ahead, and a breakdown from Thursday night football. But we'll start off with some moments from last round that really stuck out to us because by the time the news gets to us and we get it out, we're saving it for the best bits that we thought was funny. And I think Harley Reid's birds, everyone's blowing up about that. And we've seen many birds from over the years. That is the rude middle finger, which if you're watching YouTube now, Michael's just scratching an itch there.
Oh, yeah, geez. Whew. Got it out.
So, look, there's theatre of the game that's there. Okay, he probably shouldn't have done it because kids are watching, but in the heat of the moment sometimes, it doesn't bother me that much. And I do like sometimes the player antics versus the crowds. Springing to mind is, of course, Mark Murphy flipping off the Collingwood squad, which forever lives rent-free in my head.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure, Sammy, a few people from my high school had that as their screensaver for a couple of weeks after that incident. Oh, we love getting stuck into the Pies supporters.
Yes, no, it's beautiful that. So with a grain of salt, like you don't want to see it every week, but I'm trying to think of players from over the years. I know Matthew Richardson brought it out
famously
a couple of times. Was it a former West Coast and Richmond player? He did it to the security camera.
Oh, Ben Cousins. I remember that. That was pre-game, and I hope that wasn't the game that he tore his hamstring. Otherwise, that's a bit of instant karma. But I do remember Kane Corns, I think, after the siren, flipping the bird, like doing like a backwards jump and also flipping the bird at the same time. So pretty amazing acrobats from him.
Can you remember some player versus crowd antics, like players getting into a bit of a biffle with players from the crowd? I know there's some footage from the 80s.
That's probably the worst that you can see. I remember my dad always talks about this story of a cricketer who was like trying to take a catch in the crowd or near the boundary, and I think he got his shoulder badly dislocated or something, or there may have been some word exchange. So you never like to see that. But, I mean, you see a lot of times like players obviously like trying to go for a ball near the boundary and then they'll fall into the crowd and then someone's beer will spill over and they're like, hey, you owe me a beer.
Yeah, no, losing a beer is never good, especially if it's from an opposition player.
Oh, exactly. Nothing worse, Sammy. Nothing worse. And you got to put the shirt in the dry cleaner as well. God damn it. But no, the one that always sticks out for me is like, I love when, fans are giving an opposition player some lip and they're trying to kick this impossible goal from the boundary. Of course, the biggest one was Dom Sheed in the 2018 grand final. But I love Travis Cloak, I think against Richmond, and he gave him like the fist. Like, yeah, I heard everything you said, and guess what? I did something about it. So I love when players can respond with a snag.
Look, it's hard not to, because that's why I love sitting, close to the fence, because you can really get into it. It's the only place where you can yell and scream without much repercussions. And you just vibe off the energy that's on the field, and that's very fun. On the positive side of player and crowd antics, the one that springs to mind as well is Essendon. No, what's his name? Former Essendon coach and player, and he's gone up. It's in my head now. He's run up to the player.
James Hird kicked that incredible goal. James Hird on the boundary, Sam. What a great call. He goes, hugs the fan.
Yep.
I was there that night. That was special. Come from behind win. He'd been, I don't know, said something about the umpires during the week. Yep. So he didn't go and hug an umpire. He hugged that would have been interesting if he did that though. But no, that's a very iconic moment, Sam. Good call.
Yep. And then the other one, there's that West Coast fan.
Yes, with player. Michael O'Loughlin kicking it in there. He yells in their face. Oh, that was so good. That was one of my fave moments. That was in a final too, Sammy, so even bigger. Yeah, wow.
So it's very unique here that we can have these moments with players versus the crowd, and it's a bit of fun. It's the theatre of football. Some news this week. Brisbane have announced a new stadium. Which will be the one for the 2032 Olympics, and they are going to demolish the Gabba eventually, which I think is quite sad. I think it's got a lot of history, but I think it is a huge win for the AFL to be able to move into, I think it's 60,000 seat stadium. And so, a massive, massive move for the growth of AFL in Queensland. And this is cool. We're going to have a Tasmania stadium, a new Brisbane stadium. It's really good for it's definitely made me more excited to travel interstate for footy, because it's not going to be just Melbourne with, the shiny, nice stadiums.
Oh, you said it, Sam. I have seen some of the designs as well of this particular stadium, aerial shots, and it's got a little bit of that bird nest stadium type design that was rolled out for the Beijing Olympics back in 2008, if you can remember that. It's a really slick looking stadium. It doesn't have a roof on it, but I think that'll be fine. And look,
it is Queensland, so
yeah, but first day at the Gabba, and it's a little bit grey, overcast weather. It's like, oh gee, that would be good if we could have a few more sessions. There's been a few draws. We're talking about cricket here, by the way, but even still, no, you're right. I think for the most part it just adds to the theatre of it. But no, I love this proposal, and I think Brisbane is a hugely underrated location for the 2032 Olympics. I think it's going to be hugely successful, and this is a really good step in the right direction. What I do wonder, Sammy, is are some of those iconic seats, the colour, the Fitzroy colours, going to come across to the new stadium?
We hope so. I guess there's kind of that thing where the stadium has to be shared, so branding and that kind of thing. But, I mean, for the most part, the Gabba has those seats during cricket season and everything else, so I don't see a problem. And I think it's their state colours overall, maroon and all those colours, so I don't see why they
makes sense.
Wouldn't be, Okay, weird coach inspirations. Now, I've heard a few press conferences this week about Ross Lyon and watching White Lotus. He's talking in press conference about that. And then he's recently watched MAFS. So bringing that into, and I know he's not the first coach to kind of bring these kind of TV shows into, I think Luke Beveridge had a big TV theme.
Well, he was dressed as Chopper for a while.
Yes, of course.
The Choppers. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Bevo has been a big one on it. I think he referenced Shawshank Redemption, which is a great one to go to the well on. Honestly, a little bit of Andy Dufresne. So we love it.
It's every player's favourite movie, according to all those footy records.
It's a good one. I like it. White Lotus. I do wonder what scenes Ross Lyon did reference, because there is one scene doing the round, Sam, on social media around the Sam Rockwell monologue, and people that know the show will know what I'm talking about. It's a very strange perspective that he has about Asian women and older men. So I really hope that wasn't really a theme for Ross Lyon. But if it is relevant.
Strange. Okay.
Well, I mean, their age demographic in the team might be a bit funny. I'm not sure, but it's I don't know. Maybe they brought someone in. I know St Kilda back in the day was a very red light district, Sam, but I don't think it's the same anymore.
Clarko always has some weird ones.
Oh, Clarko's a ripper for those.
Over the years. Plus, he always brings the guitar out. So
he does. He does.
But he'll be a happy man this week. The Kangaroos fans have something to cheer about, and we will get into that a little more, but wasn't it good to see? I watched it with my Roos mate, and, I mean, us being Carlton and Essendon fans, we know what that's like, to be so long without a win, and maybe in a game where you didn't expect to win. Just one of those ones where you're just sitting back, don't know what you're going to expect, and they played phenomenal. They played out of their skin. It was really good. So Arden Street was pumping. How nice was it?
Things you love to see. There's going to come a time, maybe one day, that North are really are competing, and we're all going to go, can they just stay down and shut up? But, you do forget, just the doldrums of these teams. And, Melbourne was the same example. For so long they were suffering. Ironically, they were the team that got beaten on the weekend. But, as footy supporters, you can very quickly forget just how hard the road was. And I don't think North supporters are for a moment forgetting it, because I still think they do need to turn some pages. They do need to show that this is more consistent. But just to get a win like that, and to see how dominant they were, and to see the green shoots actually coming through, I mean, it's very exciting for their fans, and it sells hope for future seasons, and that's probably the biggest thing out of it, Sam. So I'm glad you highlighted that, because it wasn't just a win; it was a smacking in the second half. So no, you'd be very happy at Arden Street, that's for sure.
Well, round 3 is underway, and as we mentioned, it kicked off last night. It was Essendon by 12 points, 9-18-72. The Bombers to the power, 8-12-60 at Marvel with the lids. Be a happy man, but as you mentioned in the top of the show, wow, it was not great viewing for Thursday night footy. It was really terrible game, to be honest. So unless you were a Bombers fan, I think not many people were happy with that one. And it's more pressure on the power. But in what world am I living in where the Bombers and North Melbourne have already got a win before Carlton? This is not going well. But what were some of your standouts from the game? I know you mentioned the brand new substitute El Hawaii?
Saad El-Wadi, I think. And you know what I really liked about this, Sam, was they brought his entire family on the broadcast after the game, and they spoke just about how much it meant to him. He was actually a graduate of Basher Hooley's program, which I didn't know about, and I think that's fantastic to see him translating his skills into football. It's been a long journey for him. I think he was a car salesman at one point, so to be picked up by the Dons in the 2024 mid-season rookie draft, and then to come in and play a role, particularly such an important role in the last quarter where really the Dons did need a lift, and they were a couple of goals down and they just needed a little bit of extra leg speed. He does remind me of an Adam Saad, and he reminds me of Connor McKenna, and so the Dons do like these running, dashing half-backs, and look, Adam Saad has clearly proven at the level that he's he's a sensational player. But, he's definitely got the hallmarks of him and just seems like a really good roll-up-your-sleeve, sincere bloke. So I really do hope he makes it at the level long-term. And, it's just a great story and great to see him in his first game being able to celebrate with Isaac Kako in the middle of the circle. I think Jackson Pryor was in there as well, the Brisbane recruit, and Tom Edwards, the guy who got picked up in the SSP as well, who was a teacher. So it's just great to see that those guys can celebrate the win. But you're right, Sam. It was a game really that the Dons just had to prove something, that the Adelaide loss was really bad. Mm-hmm. And look, we're not going to watch that game in 100 years' time and dwell on it. Either we're going to do the same for this one, but the Adelaide loss was really damning. Just the defence was terrible and a lot of the efforts were questionable, but that was the effort that was needed by the Dons, and it was that first contest really where Jade Gresham made this huge lunging tackle. I think it was on their captain Connor Rozee, and that really set the standard for the night. The Dons are a lot harder around the ball. They just gave more and more effort. They seemed a lot more sound in the back line, Sam, and it was a really good, complete performance despite the lack of polish on some of the disposals from both sides and some of the horrendous turnovers. It was a really great win and, really capped off by some of the youngsters really performing well. So, no, a really good win. But, we have the bye now and I think Melbourne on the other side for Gabba round. So, always good to get a win going into a bye, Sam.
That's good. Zach Merritt with 34 disposals. Xavier Dersma, 29?
Yeah, best game he's probably played at the club and just looked, really clinical by foot, which can't be said for a lot of the players.
And a couple goals from Nate Caddy and Sam Draper playing. Now, is he going to play more full forward?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. He's been a really good focal point up forward. But what do you think about his snapping around the body, Sam? Do you like it?
Well, if you can pull it off. I mean, he did have a strange technique for holding it like that, and it felt like he was dropping it from way up here.
Right.
So, look, if you can do it and it gets you over the line, I guess you can't complain. But
I mean, we all used to laugh at Josh Kennedy, right? The leprechaun step into goal, and that seemed to work for him his whole career. So, yeah, look, the optics aren't great, but if it works,
no. But and then the other side of the coin is if it doesn't work for you, and you're in, say, Harry Mackay's category of missing, the pressure's going to hit you 10 times more, I think, because people will just go, why didn't you just do a drop punt? So,
exactly, very true.
I feel like we've been having this discussion for a couple of years now, but when it works, it works. When it doesn't, well, there you go. So that was Essendon. They'll be happy with that. Friday night, tonight, as we're recording this podcast, Marvel Stadium again. It's Carlton versus the Western Bulldogs at 7:40 p.m. I'm really praying that Carlton come out swinging tonight. No Harry Mackay, out with personal reasons. We've got Jordan Boyd and Francis coming in. Young Lucas Camporelli has been omitted, as well as Cooper Lord. Bulldog side of things, they bring in Liam Jones and James O'Donnell. Taylor Dorea comes out, Arthur Jones as well. I would say so far the Bulldogs have been pretty impressive, and they'll be a bit sad about the way the 100th birthday turned out. So that will definitely fire them up, but surely the pressure's on the Blues here. No excuses for Charlie Curnow. I think, yes, the wet, smuggy, wet conditions at the MCG last week. I know he gets torn up, but with the roof shut at Marvel, perfect conditions, this should be where he comes out. I know it's only his first game back, but pressure's on. Blues fans aren't happy. It's not the way that we wanted to start the year, and I think Bulldogs, this is a game we should win. What do you think?
Yeah. Given all the big outs, the significant outs of the Dogs, they've been highly competitive. It definitely exceeded my expectations. I had them kind of slipping pretty low. I just thought their draw was really, really hard. But, they got so much out of that Collingwood game. I mean, Sanders looks like a real player. He kind of looked a bit like Mitch Wallace, just the way he's got the blonde locks and the stodginess about him. Kennedy's been a good pickup, dare I say it, up against his old club tonight. And, Sam Darcy is going to be one hell of a player for the Dogs. I mean, he was marking everything and looks really clean in front of goal. He will need a polish. I think he's kicking from 0 to 30, but certain distances he's looking really comfortable as well. And they've got a real player in Davidson as well and Fraser. So, despite the injuries, the Dogs are finding some really good players. I don't like seeing Norton in the ruck. Same with Paddy Cripps. You just, your star players, just let them do what they do best, and just kind of, let the ruckman do what they do best. So yeah, fascinating about that. I will say real quickly, Rory Lobb. I mean, what did you find of the blue hair? He sort of looked a little bit like I
don't know. It was very
character
strange.
from the 80s.
Yeah, something out of some of those kids shows, action like I can't remember what they're called.
Right, Colin Miller. You remember Colin Miller, the cricket player? No. He had really light blue hair and he came in the bowl, and I think one of the West Indies players just like he couldn't stand still. He was pissing himself laughing. So, and Vandermeer really blonde hair too. So apparently they put those two players and I think Ed Richards together, and they were able to create the Western Bulldog colours.
Strange.
Sorry, went down a tangent there, Sam. But I think I'm gonna. Oh man, this is a tough one to tip. I'm gonna tip Carlton just.
Okay, good. Hopefully, because I'll be very angry if I'm 0-3 tonight at Marvel Stadium at the final siren. Saturday, we move on to afternoon. It's 1:20 p.m. from the MCG. The Melbourne Demons take on the Gold Coast Suns, which is really heating up to be an interesting one. Melbourne, of course, off the loss against North Melbourne. And really, I think the pressure's on them a bit now. And I know this new Suns side is wanting to be something different this year. So I think they'll really give them a crack. A couple of ins for here for Melbourne. Stephen May, Aidan Johnson, Jack Billings, Jake Melksham, Harvey Langford in. Spargo, Woodwin, Howes and Jefferson out. For Gold Coast Suns, Mac Andrew, Jed Walter and Sam Flanders comes in. Charlie Ballard, Ainsworth and Sexton comes out. So really interesting one, but home game. I don't know if the Gold Coast Suns play at many games at the G, but I think this would be one that the coach, with his many a time there, he would want them to get a win there.
Absolutely agree, Sam. I even think the record that the Gold Coast have against Melbourne head-to-head is really low. I don't know if they've there's a certain streak there about the last time that they bet Melbourne. So, yeah, really interesting to see whether not only the Suns can get over that psychological hurdle, but can also play and win at the G. The jury's still out about that. So, and the Ds are going to want to respond after last week. Stephen May is a massive in, and I thought the Roos did really well to nullify the influence of Jake Lever, which was kind of the linchpin there in the back line. But getting them back, and I do like Melbourne's in. So I'm going to tip Melbourne just for that reason, just the fact that they're at home, they need a bounce. They would be having top 8 aspirations, as I mentioned last week, Sam. So, big response needed from the Ds. But, I mean, the Suns, look, they got everything to prove, but I haven't seen it yet at the G. So I'm still holding my judgment until I see it.
Yeah, same for me. I think D's will want to come out because I think losing to North Melbourne, not to diss their credit, but that sticks out.
The way that they lost too, Sam, 59 points, six goal flurry. Rubbish.
Not good for them.
Not good.
Moving on to twilight time, 4:15 Saturday afternoon. St Kilda take on Richmond at Marvel Stadium. This is, of course, Maddie's Match, the final edition of Maddie's Match, which is a good cause. Cooper, Sharman and Toby Travaglia come in for St Kilda. Liam Stocker and Hunter Clark out. Tom Lynch and Tyler Sonsi comes in for Richmond. Sam Banks out and Liam Fawcett. St Kilda, impressive last Saturday night. Wow. Super win against the Cats.
Unexpected.
Yep.
Wow.
We've been really hammering into them on this show.
We have, haven't we?
They came out against the Cats, which was one of your top 4 predictions, and they really gave it to them.
Thanks for reminding me, Sam. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, top 4, bottom 4 kind of style, and the Cats came off in a very impressive win. Fremantle potentially feeling like it was all going to happen for them naturally, and sometimes those psychological battles can get the better of teams. And as we've referenced many a time on this show, a lot of the game is played above the shoulders. But yes. I mean, the Saints were just so damn impressive. It felt like everything they touched turned to gold. Jack McRae, I mean, a lot of people have shit-canned this poor bloke over the journey for his disposal effectiveness and hurting opposition, but the guy is just an absolute gobbler of the pill. He's an accumulator, Sam, and he was lethal by foot.
The Supercoach team straight in.
A good call. I mean, 30-plus disposals again, and just really led by example. I mean, you know, as I said, we've perplexed at some of St Kilda's calls, bringing in older players like, you know, Dan Hanbury in the past, and you know, even Dougal Howard to some extent. But this is a good call for them, and he'll develop some of the youngsters. He brings in a lot of great footy IQ, and he's still, you know, at the relative peaks of his powers. So no, good win by the Saints. Definitely got a bounce from the previous week against the Crows, and so did the Dons. So there's clearly something about bouncing after you lose to the Crows in season 2025. But no, really impressive win by the Saints, and they should be expected to win this one against the Tigers too, who, look, probably had the performance we all expected, Sam.
Yeah, Port Waugh is going to come out, but I think, well, the momentum that St Kilda will have now going into this one, they will want to use that as fuel. So this should be a good one, but I can see the St Kilda winning this very comfortably. Saturday night, 2 big blockbuster games here, unfortunately on at the same time, which is terrible planning from the AFL. We'll start off with Hawthorn taking on the GWS Giants. Wow. Hawthorn, Luke Bruce to come in for him, Connor McDonald out. GWS bring in Jakey Stringer Michael, Jesse Hogan, Kieran Briggs out, Callum Brown, Max Grueski and James Leake. What a game. And down in Tasmania as well, UTAS Stadium.
A place where Stringer actually tore Hawthorn a new one a couple of seasons. I think it was 2021. He was on absolute fire, Sam. So inspired decision to bring back the Tasmanian package. I like it. There were some calls that he may not quite be right yet, but I'm glad he's been brought in. I wonder whether they ease him in and whether he plays, you know, majority forward, which I imagine he would, kind of like a Toby Green hybrid role where he might do some midfield minutes for impact. So I like it. You know, as I said, Sam, you know, players that leave the club, honestly, you just, at the end of the day, you don't want to wish him bad, you know. So good luck to him. We'll see if he makes them a better side and he can actually stay on the park. 40 goals last year, so he can clearly do it still at his vintage. So this is a really hard one to tip, Sam. I mean, the Hawks have not put a foot wrong. They've been so impressive this season. The Giants have had a couple of little scares, particularly to Melbourne, but they've really shown their class too. I'm gonna tip Hawthorn just because they've played more in Tasmania, but it would not surprise me if the Giants were to win this one. But Sammy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've taken the Hawks too. Just showing, some people are saying that this could be the grand final preview. I know it's very early to make these kind of calls. I don't know if I'm brave.
I would like to see it. They've had some really close games in the past, Sam, including a few draws. So I'd love to see that if that happened.
But it's a good matchup, similar style of football. They're both quick to their feet, and both a big running side. So this is going to be a really interesting one to see who comes out of this one. But I am going to take the Hawks just because they play a decent amount of games down there. So for them, but I would say GWS are going to have a big crack at that one. The other Saturday night game is, of course, the rescheduled opening round game. Brisbane Lions taking on Geelong at the Gabba, 7:35 p.m. as well. For Brisbane Lions, Charlie Cameron comes in, Kai Lohmann out, Connor McKenna and Will McLaughlin. Geelong Cats, Bailey Smith comes back in and Mark O'Connor goes out. So another big one here, Geelong, as we mentioned, will want to respond after the disappointing loss to St Kilda. And Brisbane just ticking away at the minutes. Had a bit of a scare against West Coast early on. Very, very interesting. But this is another hard one to tip. I am going to take Brisbane, though, at home.
Yeah, I'll likely take Brisbane at home too, I think. But the Cats loss. They've had a couple of funny performances at Marvel Stadium against St Kilda, so I might attribute it to that a little bit more, and Ross Lyon being the puppeteer that he is. But yeah, I mean, definitely Geelong have proven in round one that they are a very capable side. But Brisbane is really. That would have been the upset of the century if they lost to West Coast. But they've really sad about Kai Lohmann. I mean, just wish him the best in his recovery. That's a hard injury, and he was a real spark on grand final day and all the games that he played last season. So we hope for a good recovery for him. But yeah, opens up another opportunity for potentially another young player, and getting Charlie Cameron back is huge. So going to tip Brisbane in this one, Sam. But I mean, these two sides, there's been some great clashes over the journey against them, and hoping for another good one here.
Yep. I think the harder decision deciding which game of these to watch. I mean, surely we could have put one of these on Thursday rather than last night's debacle.
Right.
Anyway, moving on to Sunday. Adelaide Crows take on North Melbourne, 3:20 p.m. at Adelaide Oval. I don't know, did you just see their new jumper they've released for Gather Round? It looks very sleek. I like it.
That. I like it. I even like the one that they were wearing with the red, Sam. I got to be honest. Like the aesthetic, MCG, full sun against the Bombers. I got to say, grand final preview, Sammy. I don't. Fuck, I hope not. But no, no, I do like their jumper. It's very nice, very sleek.
Well, they bring in a few players here. Billy Dowling, Luke Nankervis and James Bolasie. North Melbourne have Riley Hardman, Finbar Maley and Callan Dawson as the extended teams coming in at the moment. Look, North will be very happy, and a bit of confidence is going to be good to show, and it shows how powerful, and I'm sure Clarkson will feed to this verbatim, but belief is very special in football, and sometimes that's the missing piece. You could have a team that is capable of doing stuff, but just won't do it, and because they don't believe they can do it. But the second you do, the second you go, oh, hey, we can actually do that, and you prove that in a game like Melbourne, it is a very powerful thing. However, I don't know if it can match Adelaide's at the moment, who are playing pretty well, especially at their home field at the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, I got to say, North very, very impressive and a very surprising win. It must be said. I don't think we both tipped them, but yeah, they're going to get a lot of confidence there, and this is going to really test them. They're a young side. They would have been up all week, but coming up against Adelaide probably could turn to be one of the hardest road trips in the competition, just seeing how in form they've been all over the country, but in particular, a lot more Adelaide fans are going to turn up at the Adelaide Oval now that they're seeing their team do very, very well. So I think Adelaide for me, but gosh, wouldn't surprise me if North pulled out a little upset, Sammy boy. Whoa.
Wouldn't that be big? Imagine if they win back-to-back and away. They can win away. They're up just a couple times, so
yeah.
That'd be something special. Speaking of special, saving the best for the Western Derby. The West Coast Eagles taking on Fremantle. And while there's a lot of pressure on the Dockers at the moment after a tight finish against Sydney last Sunday night and an impressive outing against the West Coast Eagles at the Gabba. So this is really hotting up for a big derby. The changes for this, Jack Graham, Matt Flynn, Bo Allen and Jack Williams come in for the West Coast Eagles. Jack Pratelli comes out. Fremantle, Isaiah Dudley, Carl Warner, Liam Reedy and James Aish in. Out, Brandon Walker. What are your thoughts on the Western Derby and some of the moments on the big derbies over the years.
Sammy boy, what an awesome affair the Western Derbies are. They get nasty sometimes, don't they? Gosh, they get nasty. I guess we can't fully appreciate it, just what it means.
No. Not living in a two-team town.
No. But there would be some visceral feelings towards the opposition, I'm sure, Sammy. And West Coast have dominated this one for a long time, as we know, being the team that's longer been in the competition. But there's been some dour years for the Eagles, as we know now. But despite all of that, last year the Eagles got up and about and whacked the Fremantle Dockers around the park during a time where the Dockers were looking really good too. So this is a game that is just so damn hard to tip, Sam. And right now in the hot seat, it's the Dockers, really. It's the Dockers. They just have to win this one. It might be an ugly affair again, but they just have to win it. But Sammy, what's your tip? It's a tough one.
The more I think about my tip, the less I'm confident in it. I am picking Fremantle just because, look, they were a bit stiff to lose, and I'm sure there's a lot of growth room that I can still see from Fremantle. I don't know where it's come from, and I know we were probably culprits of it too, but I think sometimes you're a victim of your own kind of praise. And because everyone's saying that coming out early that they're going to be really good this year before they've even played, I think that's sometimes a negative effect on the team. So that's some probably unwanted pressure they've had to deal with early on. But I think the Dockers do need to win this, and they can win this. However, in saying that, the bit of the West Coast that I saw against Brisbane just shows what they can do if they string a couple things together. And because they're probably not looking at this is their grand final, you know,
right?
This is their thing. So I'm going to say Fremantle but this is going to be a very close game with some heat in it.
Yeah, I'm going to tip Freo just as well. But wow, wouldn't that be something if the Eagles got up and win this one? And I think Reid might be feeling, a certain itch coming on, if he does something. But no, it should be another cracking game, Sam. I love the time slot as well, Sunday afternoon. It's going to be massive.
Sometimes you just need, I never used to like Sunday night games, but in the last couple of years, they've really saved the best for last, and it's been a good way to finish the rounds.
Agreed.
The buys this weekend, of course, no games from Sydney and Collingwood. They are both not playing this weekend, of course, with these weird fixtured buys, but we've got a crazy round 3 ahead. It's going to be fantastic. Good to be back at the footy. Crowds are showing up. This is really good. And pub footy is also back.
Hell yeah. Give it a plug, Sammy. Come on.
So for those that don't know, in the inner north of Melbourne, pubs around Fitzroy and Brunswick field some teams that play out in a mixed game at Victoria Park back-to-back.
Hell yeah, man.
The team I play for, the Workers Club Lions, we're playing in the Twilight spot this Saturday, 5:45.
Love Twilight slots.
Against the Stingo Easy Beats. So, yeah.
Well, I think we all know the results then.
Well, maybe not if you looked at our preseason game against them.
No, okay.
Anyway, not so easy to beat after all. So if you love footy, get down to Victoria Park on Saturday. So there's a plug for that. Any plugs for you, Mr. Michael Serpell?
Any plugs for me? Well, watch my daily vlogs at Sir Positivity. We're doing a lot of stuff here in the US. I went to Home Depot for the first time. Shout out to them. They are exactly like Bunnings, mate. It's Bunnings 2.0. But Sammy, I've had the same answer from every single person I asked. What was missing from Home Depot?
Oh, it would have to be the snag. The snag.
Oh, mate. If they did that, mate, I tell you, you get triple the customers.
A bit of DIY on a Saturday morning. Doing some shop, you earned a hard-earned snag.
You bloody well did, mate. You bloody well did. And I tell you what, the hot dogs, I might cop some hate for this. The hot dogs at Costco do not look appealing. Oh, no.
No, even the Costco ones here, they're not good. Nasty.
Yeah, so that's my shameless plug, Sam.
But also, if you haven't followed us across social medias, we've launched a TikTok as well. So In the Ballpark across all social medias. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Stay tuned to In the Ballpark and have a good round of footy.
For all your news, reviews, and previews this AFL season,
Listen to In the Ballpark. Download the podcast now.